Hi, welcome back. So I'm very excited to talk to you about this subject here, contact shadows, I've called it, because really what we are looking at is these little shadows here at the bottom. Let me show you actually in the scene. Here we go. So here we've got the shadows that are giving us the clear sense of the chair being on the floor, and here we also have these cushions that look like they're kind of nicely stuck to the chair, giving all in all a very realistic look. If I go hide, there's a plane underneath and that has these shadows baked in, but if I just put it in the floor so that it's effectively hidden, you see the result here is that in the shadow area the chair looks like it's floating, and I don't know about you, but I spot that within half a millisecond, independent of what the rest is doing. So that really gives a sense of fakeness, and it's very difficult to solve unless you have a full GI kind of solution like you'd have in V-Ray or Corona. So this is a bit of an old school hack, but it works very, very, very well, I think. I hope you'll agree. And it works in all situations, so that means that this chair is completely movable, and I can go and put it on the other surface over there, and if I'll snap it to the floor again with the N key, then you'll see that we have the same kind of here. Maybe the shadow from the light is kind of a little bit low res, so we're kind of losing a little bit of sharpness there, but what I'm really looking at is this area here in the shade. It's really definitely giving us a very strong contact. So and also the rendering of the chair itself is obviously very realistic and is very high res. So we'll look at how we can bake in all this shadowing inside the chair, and also we'll look at how, well, again, with our world-spaced, world-aligned textures, we have our scratches on the metal here that are not only very, very realistic, but also aligned to the world. So that means that when we move the chair kind of responds to this field almost that's kind of within the space, and we are every time we move this chair, it kind of almost has a slightly different story to tell than its neighbor, which will remove automatically this kind of feeling of, oh right, it's the same chair that's been copied, if the scratches are exactly the same on one or the other. So again, this is a great advantage for us to be able to very quickly and easily take advantage of this. So let's go into 3dsmax to have a look at how we get going. Actually, before we go into 3dsmax, I just wanted to point you to the Design Connected website, where I got the very, very high quality asset here, and if you just to remind you, if you want to use it for commercial purposes, if you'd be kind enough to go and buy it from their site. Great, so now let's get the asset in 3dsmax. So I'll just reset completely so that we can see all the steps exactly. So I also have my little UE4 FBX exporter from Tom Shannon's website, which is not here, it is here. So where you can obviously get it if you need to. So I have, I'm going to open the chair, the 3dsmax file, which is the standard version, because I want to use it as an FBX like this. So these maps are now missing, so I will make sure that I have the maps relinked. So I will use my asset tracking here, and I will right click on here and set path, and I will get the path from here. So once that's done, we're all good and everything's displaying correctly. I'll hide this second version of the chair. So here the first thing I'm going to do is create a plane to receive the shadows, and I will also give it a high number of polygons, about 60 each side. Okay, I'm going to create a material for it. So just a standard material that I'll assign to it, and will also attach it to the chair. So now I should have a full asset showing basically the chair plus the ground. So I'll remove my edge faces, display like this, and I will also remove from 3dsmax the shadows and the ambient occlusion being rendered. So we see here that we are in effect lacking this information, which is the standard kind of viewport setup we will have. Okay, so that's a great start. What I might just do is, for the sake of these lighting that we're going to assign, just to have these not black. In fact, I'll make them mid-gray so that we can have some effect. Usually with metal it matters less. So okay, so we can close the material, leave this open for now. So now what we want to do is assign these vertex colors and create a solution. So in order to do that, we'll go into the Utilities tab here and go More, Assign Vertex Color. So, and that hasn't done anything, so we'll double click on it. And so this is a utility that will assign the vertex color to the mesh, but we want to enable this radiosity here, but it's grayed out. So we need to go radiosity setup. And here in the radiosity setup, we'll go and select radiosity. So this is very old school. And so we'll we'll actually change the settings here to 95 and iteration for all objects to 20. Okay, and before we press start, we need to make sure, don't forget, like I always do, to include a skylight. So we'll go into the light, create light, standard lights, and skylight. So now we have our skylight. We can press start. And there you go. That's the results. So that's took a little bit of time in the end because I've got on 95, but that really gives us a great results. That's even below. It's very realistic. So I really I really like this workflow. So now we've got this, we can collapse the mesh. So actually we've got the solution, so we should say assign to selected. Okay, so maybe I need to redo it because I lost it. No, actually, let's double check. We've got, we assigned our vertex colors to selected, which meant that the script added a vertex paint modifier to the mesh. And now if we want to display the vertex colors, then we can click that little button. So see that it's disable vertex color display. That's kind of what it comes as. And then here we'll display with color and unshaded. So here we are. This is the actual solution that's kind of showing us what the vertices have got stored in them, which is absolutely fantastic. So you see that this is really dependent on the mesh being fairly heavy, but not too heavy. This one is polygon counter. Well, actually, it's quite a lot, 300,000 polygons, but Unreal is going to absolutely love this. So we can basically, with this selected, we'll just rename it Eames Soft Pad Chair. And I will point it to my directory in the lesson. So I will take this, well, I've already got one. So let's just create a new folder called my soft pad chair. Show and right click, show in Explorer. That gives me the path straight away. And then I will, from 3dsmax, use this little script here, and I will paste that path in here. And I will export that straight away. So now when I'm back in Unreal, it will say is change to a source content has been detected. I will import. In here it says generate light map UVs. I will disable that just because I don't need it, and it will make the process of importing faster. And here we have create new materials on import, and I say okay, import. Great. So now we have a little warning, no smoothing groups. I ignore that. And then I'm going to add my soft pad chair here to the scene. So you can see that that's kind of, I press the F key and I'll slow down my viewport a little bit. You can see that that really gives us the usual, although it's very high quality, but it really gives us the usual kind of look of the chair being unshaded, and these cushions look like they're floating. So, and here indeed the chair looks like it's floating too. So we want to go into this first material here, and we will enable so we see that we've already got a texture map and a normal map that are assigned, which is great. We'll, in this material, while we're here, we'll just give it a roughness. So we'll press S on the keyboard, call that roughness. and give that a default value of say 0.2. And what we can do also is create a vertex color node, so that will that will retrieve the information stored in the vertex colors. And just for the sake of illustration here, we are going to create two colors. So I will have, we'll press 3 on the keyboard and create one color and make that bright red. And we'll bring another color and we'll make that bright blue. And then we'll create a linear interpolation node by pressing L on the keyboard. And I'll kill that previous link, and we'll plug the red in A, the blue in B, and the blue in B, and the red channel of the vertex color in alpha. So why the red channel? Because alpha is a single channel. It doesn't expect 3 colors. So if we put it here, well, actually it works. But normally we're only use one of the channels because you might use a different vertex color, a different assignment for different vertex colors when you paint on them. So here we're not going to paint on them, so it doesn't make any difference. But I kind of have taken the habit of using a single channel. So here we see that we've got our blue that is showing in the preview. And if we apply that, and now we can see in our chair exactly the result of the vertex color node in the material, which is fantastic. That's exactly what we want. So what we want is the shadow in the red area and the normal texture in the blue area. So we are going to do just that. We'll plug the normal texture in the blue, in the B section of the linear interpolation, and here we're going to create a color, and we'll give that a kind of a dark gray, maybe a bit darker than that, and we'll create a multiply, and we'll plug the normal color into the B node and the gray color in the A node. It doesn't matter because it's a multiply, so we can invert them equally. And that multiply will plug into the A of the linear interpolation. So when we press save on that, then we get exactly the effect that we were looking for. So I'm going to right click on this color and say convert to parameter, and I'll call it AO color. So save that. So hopefully that means I can actually change this dynamically. Maybe make it a little bit darker, or maybe completely dark actually in this circumstance. Maybe sometimes we may want to have something different. Okay, so that's really working for us. Now let's do the metal. Let's do the metal, so we'll save that. And we will, so how to find out which one's the metal, we'll go in here, double click on the asset, and we'll say isolate. So there you go. And that's, yeah, so there's two types of, I guess one is metal, one will be plastic. And this one will be the panel, and this one. So we can probably get away with, so this one will be the metal. So let's do the metal like that. So I love doing metal because it's so easy. Again, so we've got the color for the metal. So we'll call that color. And then it's metal. So we'll use this metallic node here, and we'll set that on 1. So I've created a constant here by pressing 1 on my keyboard. and we're not going to make that into a parameter because that is just going to stay that way. And here we're going to press S on the keyboard to give ourselves a roughness. So we'll say roughness. And here we will drag one of our textures that we were using earlier, which was that one, I think. So that texture, in fact, we want to convert to texture object. And from there, we'll say convert to parameter. So texture object parameter, and we'll call that roughness. T underscore roughness. The other way, home T underscore roughness. So that's that, and that's the roughness, and we'll multiply both together, and we'll make sure that that goes into a world align texture node. Aligned texture. So we'll make sure that that goes in here, and so we'll call that roughness amount actually, and we'll duplicate that, and we'll call that texture size. And we'll give that a default value of 300, and the roughness amount will give that a value of 1. Okay, and now we can plug XYZ texture into the multiply, and that goes into the roughness, and we can save that. So very, very simple. Make sure our texture size is saved as well. Okay, so let's see what results we get with that. So if we change the amount of roughness, we will see the amount of reflectivity in our metal change quite drastically. So that seems to be working quite well. And then I guess here we've got the size. We can change the size of the detail. So that gives us much smaller resolution. Remember, this is an 8K texture map. And the roughness amount, if we decrease it, it becomes much shinier. So maybe we'll change the texture size a little bit again. And one thing we can do also is give ourselves the ability to leave the texture altogether, but we'll leave that for another time. I think it'll be all right like this. For now, let's just put the color a little bit brighter, and then it's quite dark, so we'll move that over into where the light is. Oop. So we get a better idea. So yeah, the metal looks fine as it is like that. So I'm thinking also that on the chair, on the leather there, I'm wondering whether the normal, it looks like there's something a little bit wrong with it. So we'll plug that in, and we'll make sure that we've got some flatten normal node here to give us again that ability to reduce the normal if it's too much. So we'll create another node here called flatten, normal. FL. Okay, and we'll leave that. So press save on that, see what that does. There you go. So we can have a very, very subtle normal if need be, but generally it gives it a little bit too much grain. So, but the metal looks great and the ambient occlusion is working very well. So all we need to do now, so if I want to sometimes this drop does not work. There you go. So pressing end on my keyboard. So we definitely have this look of the furniture floating here, especially in the shadow areas. Like this, even if we have the light giving us a shadow. So what we want to do with the plane, so press end again, hopefully it will work this time. Okay, so what we want to do with the shadow, with the plane here, is use this vertex color again to play with the opacity. Okay, so what we're going to do is change the type of material to a mask. Sorry, the blend mode to masked, and we have this opacity mask node that comes here. So we'll put the vertex color node in here, see what that does. Let me just check. Yeah, so we'll just do the same as before. We'll give ourselves a multiply, and we'll put that into the opacity mask. And what we're going to do, actually, yes, so ignore all that, we'll start again. So what we're going to do, so I'll change that, start again. So what we're going to do now is all we've got left to do is do the plane at the bottom, so that we have these contact shadows. There's all important contact shadows. So we remember that we changed our last material, multi-sub-object material in 3dsmax. So I'll open that and we'll see that we have here the color, the base color here. So we'll unconnect that, and we're going to do two things in order to make that work for us. We'll change the blend mode to translucent and the shading model to unlit. Okay, and so that way we have a completely black material here with only the emissive color that we're going to play with. So in fact, I will plug that in here. Although, to be honest, I might as well just leave it there and put a constant, because we're not going to want to change that. Well, let's not. Let's just keep it for now. So we'll put a constant called emissive color 0, and then we will put our vertex color nodes, or vertex Okay, and it's great to be able to change this linear interpolation again, so that we've got one color blue and one color red again, so that we can see. If we are correct. So A, B, alpha, and then we'll put that in the emissive color. So it's too bright. So let's just have a look in here. No, it's too bright. Alright, so forget it. So we have now so we have now this plane. So we've deleted put these as translucent and unlit, and now we're just going to create a multiply node and create a parameter called AO again in here, and we'll plug that into A and that into B, and we'll put that into the opacity. And little do you know that it's completely disappeared. So here with our AO, we can see that by changing the value, we can see that our ambient occlusion is actually reversed in this case here. So in order to do that, we can drag out of the multiply and put minus and say 1 minus, which is basically the node for invert. So we can invert here, and then we can see exactly that we have our ambient occlusion showing now by magic almost. So you need to find the sweet spot. It's a bit like playing with levels in Photoshop, but you can see that now our shadow is showing correctly. So here with this light, maybe I need to change the bias of the light. There you go, to give us a little bit more accuracy in the shadow. But so here our chair is definitely sitting on the floor, which is very cool. So I can see the roughness needs to be a little bit higher, 0.3, 0.4. And finally we'll add we'll make this a kind of darker plastic color. That looks actually alright already. And if anything, we'll assign the chrome as well to the other ones. So we can see now that we have an incredible amount of detail in this asset, that even the little screws are showing a great detail. And then with these with the scratches on the metal. So I'll let you play and find the different texture maps and things like that, but I'll leave you with the results that I got myself here with these kind of these ones. So I'll just show you a little bit how we've created these exact same these assets with also the other the same workflow. So we can, yeah, we can continue.